There are certain athletes the world has already decided on. No matter what they accomplish, no matter how much they evolve, no matter how long they sustain greatness, the narrative never fully changes. For James Harden, that narrative has followed him for years. Brilliant scorer, offensive genius, one of the most influential players of his generation. But when the lights get brightest, when the pressure rises, when the stakes feel heavy, that's when the doubt always returns. And heading into Game 5 on the road against the Detroit Pistons, all of that pressure was sitting right there waiting for him again. Hostile environment, loud crowd, physical game, momentum shifting, a series hanging in the balance. And whether people wanted to admit it or not, there was one question floating over the entire night. Which version of James Harden were we about to get? Because pressure in sports is never just about the current moment. Pressure is memory. It's every missed shot replayed on television, every playoff exit brought back up online, every conversation that slowly turns criticism into identity. That's the hard part about being an athlete at this level. At some point, people stop watching you for who you are and now start watching you through the lens of who they've already decided you are. And honestly, that's not just sports. That's life. People reduce human beings to their worst moments all the time. One failure becomes your label. One setback becomes your reputation. One bad chapter suddenly becomes the entire story. And for years, fair or unfair, James Harden has carried the weight of those playoff narratives on his back, which is why this game mattered. Not because one performance suddenly changes an entire career, but because moments like this reveal something deeper about a person. Detroit was not supposed to feel comfortable. That arena was emotional from the opening tip. The crowd was trying to speed up the game mentally. Every possession felt tense. Every run felt important. Every mistake felt amplified. That's what pressure does. It rushes people. It makes players overthink. It forces bad decisions. It turns calm athletes emotional and emotional athletes reckless. And if you just glanced at the percentages afterward, you could easily miss what actually happened. 38% from the field, 30% from three, 6 turnovers. The kind of stat line people use to continue old conversations. But numbers without context can hide effort. They can hide responsibility. They can hide emotional weight. Because what stood out most about Harden wasn't efficiency, it was endurance. 43 minutes in a hostile playoff environment, 30 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 blocks, constantly initiating offense, constantly absorbing pressure, constantly being asked to create something when possessions started to break down. That's exhausting basketball. And despite the mistakes, despite the missed shots, despite the fatigue you could visibly see building throughout the game, he kept answering the moment anyway. That's what stood out. The composure, the patience, the control, the ability to slow the game down mentally while everything around him was trying to speed it up. That's real poise. Not the absence of pressure. Not pretending nerves don't exist. Real composure is the ability to think clearly while pressure is screaming at you. And possession after possession, Harden looked fully present in the moment, reading defenders, controlling tempo, making the right pass, picking his spots, responding instead of reacting. You could feel that he understood what the night required from him. And there's a difference between simply playing well and emotionally emptying yourself into a game. You could see the urgency. You could see the effort. You could see the exhaustion building possession by possession. This wasn't someone sleepwalking through another playoff game. This wasn't coasting off talent. This was somebody fully confronting the moment in front of him. And honestly, there's something deeply respectable about athletes who continue walking back into pressure after the world has already criticized them for failing in it. Because it's easy to perform when everybody believes in you. It's different when every mistake feels like confirmation for your doubters. That's the real mental battle. Most people think toughness means never struggling, never failing, never looking vulnerable. But that's not what mental fortitude actually is. Mental fortitude is showing up anyway. It's carrying the weight of past failures and still being willing to perform publicly in front of millions of people. It's knowing exactly what people are going to say if you come up short and still stepping into the arena fully committed. That's what made this performance powerful. Not perfection, presence. James Harden showed up when the moment demanded clarity, patience, leadership, and control. He didn't run from the pressure of the environment. He didn't disappear into the noise surrounding him. He answered it. And maybe people will still debate his legacy. Maybe they'll still replay old playoff moments. Maybe the narratives will never fully disappear. That's how sports work. But in this game, in this environment, with this much pressure surrounding him, James Harden left everything out on the floor. And honestly, that's what sports are really about. Not flawless careers, not perfect reputations, not never failing. It's about who's willing to keep answering the call after failure anyway. Because sometimes the strongest people aren't the ones who never fall under pressure. Sometimes they're the ones willing to walk back into it again. And in Detroit, James Harden did exactly that.